Hey, it's Amethyst Virgo. I'm back to talk today about Psyche. Okay, so I'm using my webcam, so if it looks like I'm looking in a different direction, that is why. I have a lot going on here. My mic, I have my presentation in the webcam. So, and the lighting, I don't have time to configure the lighting because I just have to get this done. So with Psyche, we're talking about the soul and mental connection. With Eros, we were talking about the internal passion, and I did that video. If you want to check that out, I'll also link it below. So Eros and Psyche go together. It is a myth, it is a story. So you do kind of have to understand Eros to understand Psyche, though you can understand this video, but I would suggest you check out the Eros one as well if you don't understand how they're connected. So to learn about the myth of Psyche, check out the Eros video timestamp. That'll give you a bigger understanding of how it came to be. I just don't have time in this video to go over it. I am in this video going to simplify it just to Psyche, okay? I might do a video later on if we want to talk about both of them together, because they are, the myth comes from their relationship and how it came to be and the themes around that. However, the way I like to do things sometimes is just like when I'm teaching, you sometimes have to give the basics first before you get all the convoluted stuff, right? So I'm not going to be talking about Psyche aspects right here or any of the other things. It's more so let's understand your Psyche sign, let's understand your Psyche house, and let's get some information. So before I jump into the actual placements, what I do suggest to people sometimes is, I know you just want to know about your sign, but read, like listen to the introduction, because sometimes I get questions from people and it was already answered in the introduction. So Psyche relates to the true mental connections and attraction to another person via the mind. So we're not talking about your attraction to someone's physicality. We're not talking about your attraction to the way someone is, what they can do for you. We're not talking about any of those things. We're talking about the mind, okay? Now, Psyche is, as you can see, we can tell it's about the mind because of the word Psyche. We've heard of Psyche before. You might have even heard it in terms of more someone's mindset, right? But it can also be, especially with the astrological placement, we're talking also about psychic connections, telepathic thoughts. Is a strategy that Psyche sometimes, this asteroid, can produce in terms of your connection to another person. Who do you feel connected to is Psyche. Greek word for soul, beyond physical or surface level connections. You know, we're not talking about what their hair looks like. We're not talking about their skin. We're not talking about that right now, okay? Synastry can extend to include this, especially for topics of compatibility. So if people are talking about soulmates or twin flames or your relationship, you can see, are there any, you know, aspects between Psyche that are prominent. It is associated with air. So people who have their Psyche in air signs might have a more pronounced connection to it because of the mental aspects of air signs. But Psyche, a more in Sappho or an octave of Venus, okay? So we know that Libra rules Venus, right? So it's not like the other, you know how the other asteroids that I've talked about, like Vesta and Juno and Pallas, are connected specifically to a sign. Psyche is not really connected to a sign per se, because you know sometimes the asteroids, instead of planets, they talk about the sign, like Juno is Libra and Scorpio. But this is associated with air. So we can also see that there are dynamics also of this Venusian concept, because we know Eros and Psyche, the myth is them together and how they came to be. What I will say is this: people who are highly cerebral and value the mind will relate to this asteroid more. If you don't care about connecting to someone mentally, if you're like, I just care what they look like, I just care what they can do for me, you're probably not gonna, you know, you can watch the video, but you're not gonna relate because you don't value the mindset. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're like, I don't really connect with any of this, well, and it's okay if you don't vibe like this, but these are people, like Psyche is like the connection. Like, yeah, you might look good, but what are you thinking and what are you saying and how are you making me feel about the mind? Like, are we connecting through the mind? So that's what Psyche can represent there. Disclaimer. Let me move this little circle. Again, I'm just trying this feature out for the first time. All right. So, you know, again, I keep telling people, if you want to understand about the asteroid goddesses, or this book here, it gives a lot of insight. So if you, I've shown people this book before. That's where I started from with my asteroid journey, and then obviously I've done other research and things like that. So that's a great resource there. However, though, what I will say is most of what I've seen online, it's hard to hit the mark of what I was trying to do. I want to help people see, anytime I'm doing asteroids, I want us to understand the asteroid in the sign is not the same as it in the sun or the Mercury. What I find sometimes with astrology, especially how mainstream it's become, is that sometimes things are conflated. Like, I'll read up about, like, you know, obviously all of my content is 100% original. And again, if there's anything that I am inspired by or that I use from someone else, I will always give credit. But I like to come up with my own content, meaning I write everything myself. Even when I do readings, I do it all myself. I don't copy and paste. I don't do any of that. It's all original from my mind and my knowledge, right? But I do research, obviously. So this is why I say books are so important, because sometimes I'll go online and I'm like, I don't see what I want to see about Psyche or another asteroid, and it'll have a description, but the description sounds like you're saying the sun in Libra. You get what I'm saying? So Psyche in Libra, for example, is not the same as the sun in Libra. So my job with this video and why it took so long is, how do I explain this asteroid without making it sound like I'm just talking about the sign all over again? How do I do that? I'm not saying other people don't do that, but I just couldn't find a lot of content online. So I tell you guys, read books. I have tons of other books that I've gotten recently, and I'll probably do another book review video soon. Read books, okay? You're not going to get the biased language. You're usually not going to get the people ranting and raving about signs. You're just going to get the knowledge. That's what I would say. And so again, one thing I also want to say, I cannot interpret your chart. So Psyche is, these asteroids are so minor. I don't work with asteroids or see them unless I'm working with someone's chart. So I can't, if you tell me you have Psyche in Sagittarius at the 14th degree, it really doesn't mean anything to me because I can't see what the connection is that I would make as an astrologer. So I hope that makes sense. I know I have some new folks here. Again, it's not that I don't want to help. It's that I just don't have the time to take every request on. And if people need a reading, I have some affordable readings on my site. But the master readings and the more advanced ones, those are a wait list and they take a little bit longer. So, okay, let's jump in. Psyche and Aries. So Psyche and Aries, how would the mind work in an Aries influence? This is what I'm saying. I cannot explain this as if this is the sun in Aries. I have to think about the mindset, because you could have a person who's not in Aries who has this placement. Well, typically they would be drawn to people who offer a spark of interest mentally. There's like a daring thinker type of energy. Like, they're attracted to people whose thoughts are not this very, compact and very overly organized way of thinking, right? They want people who are kind of spontaneous in their mindset, perhaps. And again, this can extend different ways. This can mean just simply a conversation. So with Psyche, we're not always talking about just this great love affair. It's also could be people that you're just drawn to, even if it's not a romantic relationship. They can keep you interested and you feel compelled to be involved in their thought process. Psyche and Aries, that's how you'll know if you connect to someone mentally. Like, you're interested in their thinking. You're like, it makes you feel alive. It could be a person who starts to bring up things that you felt no one else really thought about or understood. And all of a sudden, fire energy. If you're a fire energy person, even if you're like a fiery moon, you get that feeling. You know what I'm talking about? That inner feeling when you're excited. And you don't just have to be a fire sign to experience this, but it's like that fluttery type of feeling of just something feeling like passion. And I think it's more common for fire sign moons or fire sign people to experience it more often. I'm not saying other people don't. You might be inspired to act based on what these people share with you. Like, they inspire you to do something because it's through the mind, though. It's not like, hey, I'm daring you to go on a race. It's very different. And you guys might appreciate feeling mentally stirred, the thrill of exploring your mind, people who trust in you to be independent and listen to your wild ideas. Now, you appreciate that someone is willing to take a walk on the wild side with you. What they'll notice is they'll notice when people don't have something interesting to offer. So this is not the type of Psyche that just wants to talk about anything and everything. This is like, you need to stir me up. I need to feel that there's something that I can actively do with what we're talking about. Because remember, Aries is, no matter where we package Aries, it's an internal feeling of needing to do something. So that energy eventually needs to go out. It has to go out, and it is going to in some way manifest into some type of action, right? Or some type of courage or independence or some type of even impulse. And so, they prefer to have something passionately to pursue is what we're dealing with typically with the Psyche and Aries person. Now, Psyche and Taurus. Yes, there are some signs I might talk more about. It is what it is. Okay. Especially my sign, my Psyche sign, and Gemini. But anyway, the Psyche and Taurus, we have to understand Taurus's need for things of value. And of course, with Taurus, we could always go one of which ways. We can go the materialistic route, or we can go, no, I value this because of the aesthetics of the pen. I value the shade of the green, right? You can sometimes get Taurus also able to see something for what it is beyond what it represents, right? It represents something different to you, because remember, Taurus is the five senses. It's this, I'm naturally going to be drawn to what is natural and what is something that is authentic. If with Taurus energy, if someone has Taurus energy, especially now with Psyche, it's the mind, a natural understanding of what your partner yearns for. I know what you value. Psyche, if someone has Psyche and Taurus, you know. Remember, the words I'm going to use a lot with this, with Psyche, is sensing, instinct. It's not something literal. You know what your partner wants or needs. You can kind of yield to that sometimes, even in a way. Even if something's different, I think the more pronounced energy we could see with Psyche and Taurus is somebody who's like, yeah, I'm not into that, but my partner is, and we're connecting, and I want them to be invested in me, so I'm going to try that, you know. And that's not something you'll typically see in Taurus. But we're not talking about Taurus, and we're not talking about Venus and Taurus. We're talking about Psyche and Taurus. So you find ways to connect on a symbolic level, because again, we're trying to connect with the mind. We're dealing with other people here. With Psyche, remember the myth, the lovers. People who understand your taste in food, decor, etc. That's a mental connection. You don't have to tell them, you just notice it, and it's something that you value and that you understand, right? Even you do it with other people. That's what I'm saying. Psyche and Taurus can be an interesting combination with Taurus, because it's less about I'm stuck, this is what I think, I'm not. Now again, if you have any conjuncts to planets, that might have a different effect. Let me give an example. A person who dislikes drinking but is at a wine tasting event, they buy a quality Taurus bottle for their partner because they're aware of the importance of creating and building a mental connection through actions and tokens of appreciation. So I'm going to give this thing of you because I know you value it. I might not value it, but you value it. And I'm hoping that you value the things I like as well, because that's going to help us forge a mental connection together. They appreciate having similar values, though. Remember, at the end of the day, Taurus wants to feel like we have the similar approach and principles of life. They notice when they're not appreciated, very similar to, I would say, the Psyche and Leo energy in general. When someone gives them something with no thought. Virgo's good at that too. Virgo energy. You didn't put, you know, it depends on what, I don't care. Like, if someone gives me a gift card, cool, I'll find something to do with it. But if someone's like, here's this mug with a bear on it, I'm like, okay, what, you know, I don't really, you know, I'm not one of those people that expects gifts from people all the time. My love language is more so words of affirmation, to be honest. But gifts are cool. But they know. Taurus is like, this has no value. And it's not that it has no value. It's not the richest thing in the world. It's not, you know, an expensive car. It's, you didn't put any thought into what I value and what I like and my dislike. So I know you really don't care. And so now I'm mentally turned off. And they know when someone takes the time to engage with something they value. They understand that. Okay. Psyche and Gemini. I'm Psyche and Gemini. Okay. What's interesting about me is I don't have any planets in my 10th house. My Gemini's intercepted 10th house. However, I have it's not I don't want to call it a stellium, because the stellium should be planets, but I do have a concentration of asteroids in my 10th house, conjuncting each other. So I have a couple. There's Chiron, Psyche, Pallas, and Kronos, and something else when I blow it up. It's even more, but there's a concentration of Gemini energy. So that's what I'll say. Like, even if you have an intercepted house, understand if they're asteroids. If you're a person into asteroids, that is. As a Psyche in Gemini, I can definitely say, one, I have really good conversations with Gemini. Really good. In fact, one of my closest friends is a Gemini. And it's a very natural, fluid conversation. And one of my other closest friends, that even when we don't talk for a while, it just flows, as an Aquarius. Now, my Psyche in Gemini has to be at the 11th degree. For those of you who know the degree system that I use from the astrologer Nikola Stanjovic, that is an Aquarian degree. So I like ideas that are unique and different and that are forward thinking. Like, let's not just stay in a box, but also let's use the objectivity. But I'm attracted to people who have ideas that have fluid conversation. If we can't have a fluid conversation, then I probably know that we're just doing small talk, and I don't really, small talk doesn't really, I I get it. Sometimes if you're trying to build a relationship with someone you don't really know them, that's fine. Like someone at work is a new person, you're talking about the weather, you're talking about something small. I'm not saying that there's not a purpose for small talk. There is. And sometimes Gemini energy is really good at that. But for the way it works with me is that it's more about conversations that melt into one another. Have you ever had a conversation with someone via text or in person, and you just can't stop talking to these people? You just can't stop talking until someone's like, all right, I gotta go. That happens to me a lot with people that I have good connections with. My ascendant is also at the 3rd degree. So as you can know, those of you who know, there's a connection to Gemini in the 3rd degree. For those who use the degree system, some of y'all might use something different. That's fine. Yeah, like one time, one of my coworkers, she used to work with me, then she moved over to this school next door, and then she came back, but that's a whole different story. But one time she stopped by my classroom to talk. And so this is after work. So it's like, I'm probably about to leave, but we ended up staying there till 6 o'clock, just catching up. So it's people that you have. This is the Psyche and Gemini. You need to feel, even in a relationship, if we don't have anything to talk about, if we can't engage each other mentally, at least sometimes it's going to be it's not going to be a mentally stimulated type of relationship. You know, I don't get into friendships or relationships with people based on what they can do for me. That, you know, yes, maybe, I mean, we all do things for each other in life, right? Everything's give and take. But to me, another component of it is the intellectualism, is the ability to speak and the ability to talk, and for me to feel comfortable. Conversations that are too coerced are a turn off. And I should have said you, but if you're a Psyche and Gemini, you can sense when someone is not on the same mental wavelength. You can sense it. You can, like, we don't think the same. And that's fine. You don't have to think the same, but you can sense it. So remember, Psyche is also that intuition. It is that psychic energy. I can sense that we're not on the same wavelength. We have to communicate in this moment in time, but we don't really, you know, we're not on the same mindset, right? Now, again, especially if you have Psyche near any planets, some of you might have, if you have Mercury in Gemini and Psyche, you're probably a powerhouse of, like, one, intuitive thoughts, but also just an understanding and being able to, you know, being able to bring up different concepts, and your mind probably works at a very fast speed. So you have the combination of the objectivity of Mercury, but also the Psyche energy. What do we appreciate? Sounds like that cheerleading song. Talking for hours to someone they like and engaging in a series of ideas is something Psyche and Gemini people tend to like a lot. You know, some people, it's like, I might not, you know, nowadays a lot of people don't like phones, or people love phones, but they don't like to talk on the phone. But it's honestly like, if I get on the phone with someone that I like, it's probably going to last for a long time, the conversation. We won't want to stop talking, and then we'll talk about this and that. Whereas with people that we don't have as much of a connection with, it's going to be more like, all right, bye. Let's get it out the way. When someone is not truly listening, or when a conversation falls flat, you notice that, okay, we're not, you know, this is not really something mentally stimulating for both of us, you know, or people who lack objectivity. So the Psyche and Gemini mind, it's not about imprinting an idea on someone. It's not about forcing someone to think something. It's not about forcing your mindset on them. Remember, Gemini energy is objectivity. It's looking at things with rationale and with reason. So don't come at them trying to drill what you think. That's not what this energy is about. It's about fluidity in conversation. And there has to be a sense of openness and understanding. You need to be on the same mental wavelength, okay? In these type of situations here. Okay, Psyche and Cancer. So Psyche and Cancer, there's an enhanced need to feel connected to this person through shared experiences. So you might be someone who cares a little bit more about, we have something in common. We're from the same country. We grew up in the same neighborhood, you know, but it's a mental connection. It's not just, I feel safe. Could also be safety, but I feel a mental connection to you because, you know, some people just care more about that stuff. Some people just care more about, you know, I need to be with someone who has this, and that, and, you know, in common with me. I need to be with someone from a similar background. I need to be with someone from this. There's a sense of familiarity and a sense of security in being around people who have that. And when we're talking about Psyche, it's now a mental connection. Like, I can mentally connect to you. We can kind of reach each other on the same wavelength because we have similar understandings. You can have a person who's maybe interested more in tradition. Maybe this is I'm making this up, I don't know, Sun and Capricorn person. But so they're already want to embody the traits of tradition or something that's procedural and doing things in a way to produce some type of goal and to have, you know. So Psyche being in Cancer is now double that. Need to preserve, nurturing the relationship, nurturing what is traditional, or nurturing what it is that they feel that they are a part of. Your intuition may be more clear about people you have a connection to in particular. So you want to be careful not to get too stuck in the past. So I think that Psyche in Cancer produces, many times we talk about water signs, and we're talking about Psyche, and we're talking about soul, and you could talk about telepathic thoughts. You could have a person who's like really close, even with their mother, and they're like, or their sister. You know, you've heard of those stories of people where they're like, I just knew something was wrong. And I know that happens a lot with like twins, but sometimes you'll hear that even through family members who are not twins, that they have a strong connection to each other. They just understand and know when something has happened to the other person. This could likely be because there's some type of Psyche connection or Psyche, you know, aspects between the two people, or maybe one person does have a lot of psychic energy in their chart and it just happens to work out that way. So that's what Psyche and Cancer sometimes can bring. Remember, Psyche is a mind, so that's why I say be careful not to get stuck too much in the past. Cancer is the preserver of the past, all right, of history. What they appreciate is a partner that has a strong memory, right, and that is able to connect to you through memories, okay? So that's important is you have to be with somebody who's naturally open to understanding where you come from, who you are. You want to feel secure in that. When a person feels invalidated based on their past, that's going to, you know, if you judge someone based on their past, that's probably going to be a roadblock in mentally understanding them and mentally having the same connections. If someone doesn't share similar sentiments, and when you don't feel, if you don't feel safe sharing, you're going to notice that. You're going to notice when you feel like, I don't feel safe around this person. This person doesn't truly care. You know how people have blinders on? You know, you'll read those stories online, or you read someone's advice question, and it's very clear the person's not into them, or it's very clear this relationship is a mess, or it's very clear this person is using them, but something's very clear. They can't see it. I feel like a Psyche and Cancer person, even though you could sometimes say, well, doesn't Cancer give and give and give? Yes, sometimes. But I think that with the mind here, Psyche is going to pick up naturally that this person doesn't care, right? This person isn't as into their emotions. They don't nurture their emotions. So I would say that Psyche and Cancer might have more of a propensity to not follow those types of situations, especially if Psyche and Cancer is in a house that produces decision making. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm talking about. Psyche is not the sun. Psyche is not Venus. It's not Mercury. We're talking about the mind here. And how does that energy interact here? Yeah, and I said they would appreciate someone who's in tune with their thoughts or moods. They would really like and appreciate someone that can understand truly and fully what it is that they want. Almost like they do expect you to be a little psychic, right? You should have just known. You know me. You should have known. But like there can be, if the people have really good synastry together, a true symbiotic nature where they're mentally they are connected. They do have an intuitive line. There are people who have relationships and say, we just know each other's thoughts. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. All right, next, Psyche and Leo. These people can be drawn to someone who naturally understands and shows them praise, especially when you know that Leo energy is about this embodiment of self. And by self, I don't mean the same thing as Aries, but it's about self-understanding of what you're good at. Of this is me, I have these talents, or I need to be noticed. Right? That's Leo energy. And again, most of the time, sometimes the Leo energy has a reason for being noticed. So it's not saying it's all about attention, but sometimes for some people it is about attention. But we have to understand that Psyche is not the sun, which means this could be a person who doesn't understand what they're good at, or they don't know. But deep down inside and mentally, you get this connection to someone. You connect through humor and shared happiness. This is how, you know, this could be the person that's like, oh man, I was so depressed, and then my best friend came along, or my friend came along, or I met a long lost sibling, or something like that, right? Because we're not, it's Psyche involves other people, especially another person. Remember, this is the lovers. So when we are talking about Psyche, I know some people are like, but I don't need anybody. This is not, but again, Psyche is talking about your connection to other people, okay, or someone else. It's not just about you. It's what your mind needs to be stimulated from another person. So you may prefer the more joyous elements of connections. You're not as like the serious energy, not Capricorn. This isn't even like you know, Gemini, like the ones that talk your ear off, it's about needing to feel joyous. You lift me up. You make my mind, you know, you make my mindset better. I feel better. I feel more mentally healthy now. I feel more excited because of this connection with another person. You may be in some way drawn into dramatics of situations though sometimes, right? So we do have to understand that, especially if you say like someone has Mars and Leo. And then Psyche, right? That could produce some interesting results there, especially when it comes to how extroverted Leo energy is, and then we're talking about the mindset, right? So there does tend to sometimes need to be this kind of stirring up, just kind of like with Aries. So sometimes you can get the dramatics there. Now the person able to see your light, even when you don't see it, is what they appreciate. Again, you might not even know why you are, again, this is the mind. It's not this surface level stuff, right? It's not your list of who you want to be with. Maybe that they fit that, maybe they don't, but you feel special in this person's eyes without needing to do much. There's naturally an appreciation for you, and someone else might not appreciate you, but for some reason these connections to these people make you feel better. And when someone makes a big deal about your milestones, that could be something that's also important for you, right? When people actually care about the things, they celebrate you. And that's why I said there, they notice when someone doesn't celebrate them. They notice it, Psyche and Leo. And the thing is, you have to understand about Psyche and Leo, it's why it's good if you have a partner and you know their Psyche sign, and this resonates with them. Again, there's other things in people's charts. I would say this because this might not be a Sun in Leo, or Leo rising, or Leo moon. And you'll assume certain things about them. But the Psyche and Leo means they're going to connect to you more, even when they don't show it, because they're not a Leo, but they're going to notice. Their mind is going to connect to you more when you do celebrate them. You're going to have more of that mental connection where they feel like you care and that you're invested in understanding their importance. So they'll also notice a lack of passion in other people's endeavors. They're going to notice like they're not really passionate. This person doesn't really have anything of their own going on. So it does, Psyche and Leo, remember the dramatics, the excitement. There does need to sometimes be this level to you where you're also bringing some something entertaining or something special or something within your own life to add to theirs. Psyche and Virgo, you know, these folks might want people to figure them out, maybe immersed by those who take the time to pick their brains. They're like, oh, you're actually asking me really thought out questions. It's the person going on a date, and they feel like the questions are good, right? It's Psyche and Virgo. It might not even be a Virgo person, but naturally they're like thinking and the wheels are spinning of like, wow, this person wants to know me on a more in-depth level, and they're really thoughtful. Remember, Virgo energy is thoughtful. Now again, Virgo's a sign of service. So Virgo's thoughtfulness does not look like Cancer. It's not going to look like Pisces. It's not going to look like that. But the thoughtfulness of Virgo is, I am thoughtful of what you are in need of. Practical advice. I picked this out for you because I know you like this, right? Similar to Taurus in a way, but remember I explained Taurus. If you want to go back, if you're interested, I explained Taurus in a kind of different way. Virgo's buying you something or getting you something because they know you're going to need it later. You're going to need this later, right? So you took the time. And so with Virgo energy, there's definitely going to be, sorry, I just had to pause for a second. So I don't remember what I was saying exactly, but Virgo energy is thoughtful about what you're going to need. You're going to need this, right? So it could be attracted to the way someone thinks. You could be attracted to the way someone thinks or processes ideas. Now again, remember this is different than Psyche and Gemini, right? Gemini is about the flow. Psyche and Gemini is about the flow, right? With Psyche and Virgo, it's about, let's process this. I want to make sure you understand me. Do you understand me? Right? As long as there's a mental connection, you might not put a lot of pressure on the partner, right? Meaning like there is an understanding, awareness of like the mind needing to be more important. Now again, remember Psyche is more connected to the air signs. But Virgo is one of those more mind-driven signs, as we know with Mercury also ruling Virgo, but again, it's about the process. They appreciate feeling understood and acknowledged. So Virgo energy likes to be acknowledged, but more so for what they're doing. but not in a big way. You have to find ways to authentically celebrate the Virgo. It's not about Virgo, I'm going to, you know, and again, we're not talking about the Virgo person. So, but I sometimes have to make connections to what Virgo energy is and then bring it back to what Psyche and or whatever placement I'm talking about is. So the acknowledgement for Virgo is not the same. So when I use the word acknowledgement, I'm not meaning the same as like what a Leo is going to need. But Virgo wants acknowledgement for the things they're doing for you or the things they've helped you with, right? Give them that praise. You helped me. That's what Virgo likes more than this grandiose attention. Feeling that someone takes the time to dive into their complexity. If this person, now, what if this is a Psyche and Virgo person with a Virgo rising? What if they have more Virgo energy in the chart? This person is complex. Yes, you sometimes have to figure out the way Virgo is thinking because everything is processed and bucketed and compartmentalized with Virgo energy. So with Psyche, yes, there's an element to that. And if this person has all this Virgo energy in their chart and this, yes, they're going to appreciate when you take time to understand them. And I know it can be hard for certain signs where it's like, well, just say what it is. Why do we have to go through a maze to figure you out? But that is how Virgo makes sense of things. They will notice anti-intellectualism, right? They will notice, kind of similar to where I said Psyche and Gemini. When you're not on the same wavelength, they're going to notice it. But with Psyche and Virgo, it's even more complex because they're going to notice you can't keep up with them, that you can't dive into things the way they do. They're going to notice, or they notice you don't value it. Maybe you don't care about certain things. You don't care about the process. So, you know, but they're going to notice that. And they're keenly aware of things you do and don't do for them. They're going to be like, if there's someone who's constantly trying to I'm trying to connect to you. So I did this thing for you, but you didn't do that for me, right? And then their mind starts spinning and they start making certain, assumptions about the nature of your relationship. And what I wanted to mention with the Sun and Psyche, the difference here. Remember, Psyche is about the mental connection. And obviously certain signs have more of an air influence or more of a mental connection or something like that. The Sun and Virgo person is embodying certain things. They're embodying it. I don't need you to be it. I am it if you're Sun and Virgo. The Psyche and Virgo is, I need this Virgoan nature to our communication. And maybe I don't need it from everyone else, but I need it to people that I'm close to, right? So that's the difference between the Sun and Psyche. All right, with Psyche and Libra, there's a true sense of what another requires or is thinking. Perhaps an innate ability to relate. Despite glaring differences, here's what I mean. If I'm trying to mentally connect with you through Psyche and Libra, well, we're different. We're not the same, but I'm going to find, like, remember, Psyche can represent that telepathic energy, that psychic energy. It represents an innate understanding within. And so with that said, what we're going to do is notice that there's a glaring need to connect. This person may be more in tune mentally with how to find similarities between themselves and others, okay? Right? Now, one thing to consider here is that with Psyche and Libra, there's still this kind of partnership connection. There's still this need to feel that I am in some way collaborating with you. And so the Psyche and Libra person wants to more mentally get into the person's mind. They want to understand how they are connected. This person might be more prone, especially if there's other prominent Libra energy in the chart, to in some way find ways to become immersed in each other's hobbies or each other's lives in some way. Because remember, with Psyche, we're talking about the mind. We're not talking about Sun and Libra. We're not talking about Mars and Libra. We're not talking about, going out and socializing and finding people to connect to. We're talking about the mind, the point of the mind. The non-romantic person. So this is where we can see small traits. Again, it's about connectivity. They might not do this unless they feel mentally connected to you. So this is why Psyche is a different type of placement here, right? The non-romantic finds it important to be romantic if there's a true mental connection established. This is the person who's like, you can have a person who's, I don't care about relationships. I don't want a relationship right now or whatever. But then when they get in 1-2 years later, all of a sudden they feel, no, let me do this romantic gesture. I don't want to do it, but this is what my partner wants. And I'm trying to make sure that we are on good terms, right? That's an example there. The appreciation is consideration, feeling like another person gets them without a lot of guesswork. They want to feel like this is a seamless blend together. People who naturally bring peace to a situation, right, are those who are, they prefer those situations. Bring me peace, don't bring me conflict, right? They can notice when they feel ignored or when someone doesn't like them. They can notice that. And so there can be an aversion there. Too many intense conflicts or arguments is not really good for the mental mind state of the Psyche and Libra, because there is a need to feel balance. So especially when it comes to their connection with other people. So it doesn't mean this person is a Libra or always seeking balance in all areas of their lives. But when it comes to feeling a sense of connection to other people, there can be an aversion of people who are too dramatic, too many conflicts, too argumentative, all those types of things. Now, Psyche and Scorpio. Now, with Scorpio energy, anytime we talk about it, we know we have to discuss the presence of being completely embedded in a way into something. So with this, it could be a deep perception, which may mean on a psychic level, almost sensing the importance people will play in your life. So remember, Scorpio is one of the signs associated with coming together with someone else, intimacy, you know, and especially when we think of the fact that Libra is partnership. It's that the stage where you are partnering up, you're agreeing to partner up. And then when we get to Scorpio, we're now talking about how are we intimate, right? That intimate energy. So you might know or sense, I knew that person was going to be in my life for a long time, or I knew this was my soulmate, or I knew this person was this or that. Now, are some people going to be better attuned to know that? Sure. It's going to depend on your own level of psychic abilities, your own intuition. Have you developed it? But they can be better equipped sometimes to connect to others who have a hard shell or a tragic past, because you're willing mentally to get through that. You're willing mentally to handle some of the more serious topics that sometimes we can deal with through the mind. Even as an aside to this, especially if someone maybe has a Scorpio stellium and this is in it. Again, I always say with Scorpio, they don't have to do this, but some are more equipped to deal with counseling or of a more serious nature. Like, I would say counseling when it comes to like traumatic situations or trauma or things like that. I do not say you have to do that if you're a Scorpio. I know some Scorpios don't want to touch that topic, but psyche is the mind, and so you might get connected to people who share these experiences, and you might be better able to help them if you're into that. You know, you can be more consistently attached to others mentally than other people. Remember, Scorpio energy, we have Pluto and Mars, and so there's more of an attachment level there. So this could be more prone to the people who are like, you can't get off your mind, right? I can't get you off my mind type of energy, right? Yeah, people that you can't get off your mind is what I mean. They can appreciate those willing to let them reveal their deepest, intense internal feelings due to not easily revealing all thoughts. So you appreciate people that connect to you or let you speak that, especially if you're not used to Scorpio energy. If you are not a Scorpio, if you don't have prominent Scorpio in your chart, but you have Psyche and Scorpio, you're not used to this. So this is where Psyche is different, where it is going to matter the connection to the people, not just having the sign in your chart. They're going to notice when someone lacks the emotional depth to truly connect to them on a soul level. There's kind of this noticing of that person's not going to be able to fulfill me, or that person is not going to be able to give me anything. Remember, Scorpio energy is about and I don't want to say taking, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Like the Mars and Pluto energy of like, I'm powerful. I'm going to preserve this power for myself, or I'm going to take this power and make it into something to develop myself and move myself up. And so we're talking about emotional power. They're going to notice when someone doesn't have that. That's the person who they were perfect on paper, but the Psyche and Scorpio person is like, no, there's something missing. And they're like, but what? They're perfect. And it's like, no, I need something more. And sometimes you don't know what that more is until you actually get it. Psyche and Sagittarius. Now, the connection is to those who have more to offer you and can teach you and show you new horizons. So your mind, it wants to be open. You're more connected to people who show you something new. I've said this about being a moon and Sag. I feel like when I was telling this to someone in a comment, I feel like when it comes to learning anything, I'm kind of the type of person like, tell me something I don't know already. Right? Especially if you're already a person who seeks knowledge and you've always done that. It's not that you know everything, but it's like, you know the basics. Like, it's like, I know this stuff, right? Especially with like anyone who has any prominent third house energy or Virgo or Gemini or any of the air signs, like you already kind of like to get information. You already know things, right? But it's about, I want to now see, how do I apply this to life? So show me something I don't know is Sag energy. That's how Sag likes to learn. Either showing their knowledge or show me something I don't already know. You feel uninhibited with this person and may appreciate or like their wisdom. So you could be someone who's more into people that you feel have different experiences than you mentally. Like, meaning like you're mentally connected to someone who has a different faith than you, or someone who has a different experience, or someone who, oh yeah, I grew up in 5 different countries, or oh yeah, you know, I studied abroad, or oh yeah, I did this or that. It's you feel intrigued by these people because in a way they can also help you open up that layer to yourself. You could be primed to accumulate new insights on life through experiences that frames your mindset. Here's what I mean by that. You want someone who helps you develop your worldly view of things. You feel that those people are more open. Like, it's like when someone feels bored. It's like you feel bored by life. You feel like there's nothing exciting going on. But when you are engaged with certain people, you start to feel like, oh, the world opens up. I now know what I want to do after that one conversation. And I do think that sometimes Psyche can be, it doesn't always have to mean relationships. The theme is relationships. It's the Eros and Psyche. It's the lovers. But sometimes Psyche also can represent, just in general, that one person that you had a conversation with 2 times at work and then they moved to a different location. But they opened you up. And those little moments you had together, they opened up your mind to now seeing what is possible, and now you're willing to move forward. People who support your big thinking are going to be people that you're mentally attached to. People who are feeling the person is invested in the truth. Now, here's the thing that happens here. Here's where Venus is different than Psyche, or Venus represents an octave. Psyche is an octave of Venus. So with Venus on its own, so here's what I mean. Venus is associated with Psyche because of the lovers thing. But Venus on its own, we're talking about who and what we value. With Psyche, it doesn't mean that this person is embodying being that. It means they're opening you up to that and you have the same mental wavelength. So what I mean by someone who supports your big thinking, they might not even be doing the same things you're doing. But because they support you, there's a mental connection. You get what I'm saying? It could be that person like, oh yeah, my big brother always supported my dreams, even if his are completely different than yours. So it's not about the person's identical to you, it's what they can bring to you mentally and how you engage with each other. But they notice when a partner doesn't trust their foresight to see the future. Sagittarius energy, along with, well, we could do another video on this, but Sag energy is, remember, prophetic energy with Sag. Being the prophet, being the truth seeker and the truth seer. Now, again, does that mean all Sag does that? No. Some Sag energy spits off just what they think is their truth. But some Sag energy that's attuned and truly connected to knowledge, you're that pipeline to knowledge, that's when you're going to see a different type of Sag energy. Where you will see a person who naturally just knows the bigger picture without knowing the bigger picture. And so since Psyche is the mind and Sag can be those kind of more truth energy, you can be a person who is more in tune and you know the big picture. You already know what something's going to become. You already can see it. So when a person shuts you down, that can be a block. And you might not like too much linear thinking, especially if the rest of your chart shows that's not really what you're about. All right, so Psyche and Capricorn. This person is going to be an attraction to a more mature mind, and whether that just means associating more or being on a different frequency that requires you to be around people who you think have more of a kind of practical, no-nonsense energy about them. It can represent a sense of traditional understandings, especially spiritually. Understand that Psyche is this kind of more soul level energy. So we're not talking about the sun in Capricorn right now. So that's why we also could, you know, sometimes there can be that component there of the person who, and I know that sometimes people think of Capricorn, they don't think of spirituality, but all signs have some link to spirituality. But with Capricorn, what's special is this preservation of traditional understandings of the spirituality, of practices, of rituals and things like that. But with that said, you sense already what the goal should be in circumstances or even relationships. If you're intrinsically connecting to someone and you understand their what they can add to a situation, you naturally might have this ability to know who can add to your bigger picture. And I don't want to say that in a more self-satisfying way, but it's just a mode of Capricorn. It's like knowing sizing something up and knowing what potential it has. Right? And that can be a gift, right? Knowing the potential that something has, knowing the potential someone has to you. You might even know, like, I can build you up. Remember, Capricorn energy is also the mentor. That's why you can see when Capricorn, this is an aside, when Capricorn is in the 12th house or someone has 12th Capricorn in the was it Capricorn 12th house or Capricorn? What was I going to say? Capricorn or 9th even. Sometimes you can see a person who is a mentor when it comes to beliefs or things like that. And Capricorn isn't usually associated with spirituality or things like that, but Capricorn can teach you the traditional methods of things. And so because Capricorn can have that mentor energy, that older energy, that I'm going to show you how, but you got to do it yourself energy, you can sometimes see that a person is knowing, they know in their relationship, they know when they meet someone, oh yeah, she's the one, or whatever, right? Or he's the one, or whatever the case is, because you can size things up and you naturally, Capricorn people that are in tune with their spirituality know the potential of something. They see that, okay? And so what they appreciate are mature, wise decisions and people who mentally support and understand their mission. Maturity is a big thing, meaning, it has to make logical sense. They have to see that you're able to keep up with them, that you make decisions that are beneficial, that lead to something. So if a person has heavy Capricorn in the chart, or earth energy in the chart, and Psyche in Capricorn, you can see a person who's kind of very no nonsense. They're not with this frills. They're not with the, I'm just going to do something just to do it. It's like, well, you did something and here's the consequence and now you've messed your life. Like, they could kind of have that kind of attitude about them. Now, they could also appreciate those who are in some way traditional or who respect process. You know, I know that tradition, in some ways, people use it in different ways. Some people find tradition, you know, archaic, and we're in 2021 and everything should be new and different and throw everything out. Every single thing that is rests on something that was. Every single thing. Nothing, you know, nothing is in a vacuum. Right? And I know that we like to think we're special because we're modern people and it's 2021, but we're really not. There are people who have done things before us better. We just think we're doing them better because we have technology, right? Let's be honest. There are things we're doing better than people of the past. So I'm not, you know, that's a whole different conversation. But the point that I'm making is that tradition is not always bad. If it, you know, if you are upholding something, if it is something that is beautiful, if it is something cultural, if it is something that is something to be honored and respected. Now, when tradition is oppressive, I get that. Like, you can't just, you know, some people, again, I'm not going to talk about particular cultures or anything like that, but sometimes things that are oppressive are said, well, that's our tradition. That's just how we do it. And there's a lovely video about this. This lady, I don't remember her name, but she does really good videos on YouTube about narcissists. And she talked about, how sometimes people will use culture and tradition to gaslight people. So it's interesting. If you're interested in conversations about narcissism, I'll put her name on the screen. When I'm editing this video, I'll put her name on the screen. Anyway, that's my point about tradition. That's a whole different video that I don't mind doing in the future. They can notice a person who can't keep up with their frame of mind or who thinks too much on a minor level. At the end of the day, mentally, they want to be connected to someone that they feel has an understanding of their vision. You need to understand my vision. And, you know, and the vision needs to be something that is concrete, that we can see, that we can both be on this wavelength of knowing we're looking at something that is going to produce something. Other signs that care about vision, it's not, I'm not trying to produce anything that's going to be about success. Pisces energy is very visionary. It's very imaginative. It's very influential. I wouldn't, you know, but Capricorn's vision is more something that is going to be successful, something that is going to be noticed and can get your respect. Pisces energy is not really looking for respect. If they get it, it's just a byproduct. So that's just something to keep in mind. Psyche and Aquarius. So with this energy, you know, it's likely more willing to let go and provide freedom. Aquarius energy in general, what I've found, even the moons, they're not trying to control you. Now, could you get into some, well, this person played mind games on me and did it? Yes, you could. But the mind game stuff with Aquarius, there's a special combination of signs I've seen with that, where that's more likely. But the thing here is their love is more of an accepting type. There is a need to tap into the different mindsets of different people, which is why they're willing to let you be free. Because you're not, I don't want to say this to be mean, but sometimes with Aquarius energy or with Psyche, you're not enough to keep me mentally stimulated. Like, I like talking to you, but I talk to this person about this, and I talk to this person about this, and that's, you know, because I need variety in understanding. I need variety in, you know, people's experiences. I need people that are going to, I'm about the group, so I need to know what the group thinks, right? And so, and I guess that's very symbolic, right? But they can support a partner with situations that don't directly impact them. I think sometimes you can see that, and I think too much freedom makes someone not feel that anyone cares about them. But freedom can also look, I'm not imposing my thoughts on you. You want to do that thing? You want to go overseas for 3 months? I'm not going to be a selfish person and say, oh no, you need to stay with me. I'm going to say, cool, do what you need to do. Because if I'm Psyche and Aquarius, I'm going to feel you either way. We can have a mental connection even with distance, right? Even with distance, I'm connected to you, right? And so, you know, this person can also feel like they have multiple soulmates. We're looking at Psyche as a part of the soul. Remember what I said, Psyche is more connected specifically to the air signs. So there's going to be maybe a stronger tendency to feel this energy here. But this could be a person, like they have multiple soulmates. And that's not to take offense if that's your partner. It's just Aquarius is about, I need to understand how to be able to function in this world with the freedom, with Uranus ruling Aquarius, with the freedom to be able to, you know, Saturn too, but with the freedom to be able to indulge in all the different thoughts that I want. And one person might not be enough to indulge in all the different thoughts that I have. So don't feel a certain way. It doesn't, again, we're not talking about relationship. We're not talking about their moon and their Venus. We're talking just about Psyche. This person understands that connection does not need to always be physical. There's an awareness there. It doesn't always have to be, I'm right next to you. It's, we're connected because we understand each other's differences and we accept each other for who we are. And so when you do something crazy, remember the Psyche and Capricorn might have a different response, but the Psyche and Aquarius person might understand or go through the modes to try to understand why you did the way what you did without this kind of judgment, even if they have their own fixed view of something. They like feeling accepted for uncommon beliefs or ideas. You're the person they can confide in about something that sounds strange or weird, but you don't judge them. And what they'll notice is a person too restrictive in their thinking. They'll notice that you're too restrictive. You're not thinking outside the box enough. You're not if you're not accepting this Psyche and Aquarius person, then that can be an issue. And of course, they're already going to have so many other people they can talk to. So that's where you're going to see if you are imposing on someone else's mind and you're not allowing them to kind of be open, they're going to start to not confide in you anymore. Psyche and Pisces. Well, wants to feel that there's a spiritual connection that borders on a karmic spiritual union. The Psyche and Pisces person, they have to connect on a soul level first. It doesn't mean they won't keep all these other things. They won't have other attributes they need in a partner or around people that they are in close proximity to, but they're attracted to the soul first, and they're mentally and spiritually going to feel that first. Their bonds can be with people who are dreamers or possess more imaginative qualities. Even if you're not a Pisces, that person that inspires you to do the thing you've always wanted to do, you might bond with that person. Doesn't mean you're with them forever. It's not talking about a relationship that, we're not talking about, well, I'll be very clear here. I'm not talking about Juno. I'm not talking about Jupiter, because Jupiter can be associated with marriage partner. I'm not talking about 7th house. We're just talking about Psyche. You sense what others close to you are going through. Empathy. You sense it. You mentally connect to people. You're the type of person that can see already when someone walks in the door, oh, they're not feeling good today, or oh, they're not, you know, you sense it. Whereas I said with Cancer, I feel like there's more of you feel it, cardinal. With Pisces, you sense it. The highly spiritual person may have intense dreams or more indirect ways of understanding their ideal partner. That's good and bad. I know some people always want, I want to be connected to my soulmate and I want my twin flame. But some people are like, no, you don't, you know, it's intense. You know, these experiences are intense. And sometimes we want something that we're not ready for. But these people might have more of this kind of psychic ability to kind of connect to people. If you even have Psyche in the 12th house, if you have Psyche in any house or any placement, any type of aspect that it's going to make it more profound for you, perhaps. I do think there's always this kind of aura to these people. I always knew I would marry whatever. I always knew I would marry someone who lived on a farm. I don't know. I always knew I would marry someone outside of my race. I always knew I would marry someone from a different country. I always knew I would marry someone different, someone unorthodox. I always knew I would marry someone traditional. Whatever it is, there's more of this need. So it doesn't always mean these people are floating in the air like Pisces. It doesn't mean they're like fairies. We're not talking about that. It can sometimes be something as simple as I knew this person was my soulmate. I know who's my soulmate. I know who I'm here to even help. Appreciates, because, you know, empathy, the idea, the concept associated with Pisces, appreciates understanding, sentimental conversations, and spiritual unions. So, you know, now sometimes you can get really caught up with people with this. What if they Venus and Pisces and some other stuff, Piscean in nature, Neptune is in a certain aspect to Venus perhaps, or something like that. Sometimes you can get into people who are like, we're so connected mentally, we don't care about any of this physical rule stuff. So you can get into, I don't care about a formal marriage, we're spiritually married. That's a very Piscean thing. It's a very Venus and Piscean thing, right? It's a very, even Psyche and Pisces, you could say. They notice when someone doesn't appreciate or support their dreams, right? Through their conversation with you, they're going to see you don't really believe that they can do it. You don't believe in me, you know, that type of energy. And too many demands placed on them. Pisces energy doesn't like demands, doesn't like time, doesn't like restriction. It likes the freedom to be able to do as it needs to do. And so that can sometimes be an issue when there's too many demands placed there. Now, Psyche through the houses. Look at these as the effect, right? How does this, what does this cause, right? I mean, these affect with the E, not the, what does this cause? You have to look at Psyche through the houses as different than you would in other placements, because we're talking about the experience of meeting someone who mentally stimulates you. And if you haven't done it yet, you're not going to relate to this. If you're like, oh, nobody understands me, I can't connect to anyone, you're not going to relate to this. You know, there's some other work that needs to be done there. So first house Psyche emboldens your identity. It nourishes your independence, okay? The second house, you feel a richness. And I'm not talking about literally rich, though maybe it could, because you feel a sense of value. Like, wow, somebody finally understands me. Like, someone finally gets it. And now I feel like more of use, of value. Like, I feel more in tune. I now know what I'm you know, I wouldn't say here to do, but the second house could be more of that. I now have direction how I can build myself up because of this union or because of these connections, because it's not always a relationship where you get your psyche need met. Third, forges a communicative nature. You might be a person who doesn't like to communicate with people, but these people you connect with, you feel this verbal or even psychic connection to. The fourth helps bring feelings of belonging. You feel like you belong. Someone helps you. Maybe they invite you into their life. This, for those who did not feel accepted in their family, this is going to be really important for you because you didn't feel accepted and now you do, right? You feel like there's somebody that is, you know, giving you some type of support that you didn't get. All right, let me hurry this up because the house has woken up. And yeah. Psyche through the houses, fifth. Okay. These connections further your sense of confidence, releasing you to feel more engaged in the bright sides of life. Example. An all work, no play person connects to people who activate their psyche, right? That can be important, you know. You now know how to have fun because a part of you has been nurtured. It's been accepted. They make you sense and feel more allowed to make certain decisions. The sixth house, you and important people in your life have a routine or dedication with each other to improve your connection. We call each other every day. Partners who go to work and at a certain point in time, they call each other up. Or people are like, oh yeah, every weekend we go hang out. Every weekend we go, you know, that is a psyche connection. I don't know, every other month you and your best friend from college go to brunch. That is a psyche connection, right? I want to talk so they can talk and so you can have certain ways of, you know, fostering keeping your connection going and understand what's going on in each other's lives. Seventh, you're dedicated to partnerships where there are shared mindsets on relationships. This could even be business partnerships, but more so when we're talking about relationships. It's very essential to, if you're psyche in the seventh house, that like there needs to be a bridge that you both come into where you truly understand that you have a similar view. A partner is this, a business partner is that, a friend is this. You benefit from having an understanding and awareness of those things, like being normed on those things. You need these people around for mental balance. Perhaps, sometimes you might need these people around for balance. It doesn't mean you can't do it on your own. It means you get help. You know, a lot of people get frazzled up when you say like, hey, another person can help, but I'm independent. We all want to be independent, but you need people. You need something. You need some type of meaningful connections in life. It doesn't always mean it's a marriage or a relationship, but most people want someone they can relate to in some level. And again, relationships and friendships and family looks different. This house is 8, 9, 10. The 8th, you know, it could be, you can develop what it feels like to have more profound, deeper mental ties to people beyond the physical. Intimacy is a theme of the mind. So now intimacy, so again, remember, Psyche through the houses, what effect does it have on what area of life? On your ability to have intimacy mentally and not just always thinking about the physical, the sexual nature of it, which we know 8th house can be. The 9th house, it affects journeys or mental quests that are now enhanced and encouraged because of this connection. New territory becomes important. You now feel that you're able, because of this relationship, to maybe because of your association with this person, you now have new experiences that you can embark on. The 10th house, people you connect with the most are the ones who encourage you to meet your goals and aim higher. I had to think about this a lot because I have 10th house Psyche, and I understood my Psyche in Gemini. I was like, 10, that's interesting. Like, I don't know how, but I thought about it and I said, well, I think for people who have a 10th house Psyche, it's like, if we're talking about goals, and we're talking about worldly achievements and things like that, people that you mentally connect with are going to be the people who are really there for you. The people who are really here with you are going to push you to meet your goals and aim higher. The people who don't or don't care doesn't mean they don't care about you, but they're not invested in your achievement. The people invested in my achievement have always been the people who have said, yeah, you can do this. Or why don't you do this because you're capable of doing more. Those people are the ones that, who have really seen that you're able to do more, or you're good at this. Those type of individuals. So your Psyche energy, if you have Psyche in the 10th house, people you connect with the most they should see that in you and be able to, give those encouraging words and aim higher. That's going to affect that area of your life. The people you connect with the most care about you moving up, basically is what I'm saying. Example, I have Psyche with Chiron in the 10th house. So though I've worked on my Chiron, and I've talked about working on your Chiron, and I know that it's possible, okay? I have Chiron in Gemini. So you connect the dots of what I do and the work that I do, and Chiron in Gemini, and how I've been working on it. You connect the dots because you're on this YouTube channel right now. But the thing is that the Psyche being in Chiron it's almost like, as I'm going and healing my Chiron, the people that I connect to, they're supporting me as I do that. Even if they don't know that I'm doing that. Even these people, even if they're not in the spiritual realm, or you know what I mean, and they're not in a spiritual set of mind, they're pushing me forward, or they are saying encouraging things, or they believe I can do it. They're matching, like, yeah, you can do that. That's your goal, you're going to do it. Not people that are like putting anything down or saying, oh, that's not possible. So that's just one thing that I would say, personal experience of how you guys might experience that. 11th, you can connect to many people or influence groups. I think Psyche here can be really influential. Even the mind, like if you have a lot of placements in the 11th house in Psyche, this is going to be more pronounced, obviously. Multiple people are impacted by your mindset and vice versa. You are, thrown into experiences where you have to understand the mindsets of different people. You might connect to different types of people in order to understand the world in a more holistic way. Again, like I said, if there's conjunct any planets or anything going on there, that can be huge for you, right? So connecting to different types of people is going to help you in some way have a different take on life. You're going to have probably, especially if you're a person who works in any field, or you're just a person that cares about other people and understanding other people's experiences, the 11th house is going to be really important there, because you could even, that can be a really beneficial placement. Being able to relate to different people, like being able to understand the experiences of different groups of people, or being able to like really understand collectively what people are thinking, that can be, there's a lot of potential with that placement, especially for spiritual people. Yeah. Because, let me not go into all that. Because I know we don't think of spiritual, remember, well, Uranus, astrology. Uranus rules astrology. So Uranus being one of the rulers of the 11th house, for people who are interested in astrology, or people who are astrologers, or people who have some type of otherworldly knowledge that's not widely acceptable, Uranus, Psyche being there could be beneficial, especially if you have planets there. The 12th house, I would say spiritual renewals. Some of you might be going through an evolution with your mindset, perhaps, if you believe in karma, if you believe in reincarnation, right? Karmic relationships are more thematic when you have Psyche in the 12th house. Again, it's almost like you're relearning something. You have to relearn a new way to connect to people. You may be attracted to the mind first. Karma, as a reminder, especially when we talk about it here in astrology, is it's about lessons, not just about getting who you want. Juno too. Juno in the 12th house. Lessons. It's not just about, oh, am I going to find my soulmate tomorrow? Please, I'm sorry. The soulmate stuff, it's real, but some people become so consumed and obsessed with it that you're gonna miss your soulmate because you're too busy trying to find and tick these boxes. It's just like not authentic. If you want a soulmate, you need to be authentic and live your authentic life, and that is how that typically unfolds. Forcing things or placing these labels on people that it doesn't tend to be what you want it to be. So that's not karma. We don't force karma. We can work on our karma, but we don't design these, you know, this isn't The Sims. That's it for this video. If you liked it or learned something new, please click the like button. I'm now working on it. It's going to take me a while because I want to make sure I get it right, but I'm going to next that I focus on another video. Again, I don't know how long it's going to take. Is going to be Lilith. So I will be working with Lilith through the signs, through the houses. I want to get Lilith right. So that one I'm going to really put some effort into, as I put effort into everything. Thank you for watching.